All right, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about your body's built-in security detail, the team that's on the job 24/7, ready to go to battle at a moment's notice. This is the story of your innate immune system. Kind of wild to think about, right? But that's pretty much exactly what's happening. Right now, as you're watching this, there's a silent, microscopic war being waged inside of you. And this system, the one you're born with, is your first line of defense. It's what protects your personal fortress from attack. So, who exactly are we fighting? Well, the enemy is called an antigen. Think of it as any signal that tells your body, hey, something isn't right here. It could be a virus, a bacteria, or even something seemingly harmless like pollen. It's really anything your immune system flags as not self. And once it's identified, well, that's when the defenses kick in. So, here's our battle plan. We'll start with the fortress walls, your first line of defense. Then, we'll cover what happens when the alarm gets sounded. After that, we'll meet the soldiers of the cellular army. And finally, we'll witness the full-scale counterattack that you probably know as inflammation. Every good fortress needs strong outer walls, and your body is no different. But these aren't just simple physical barriers. They're actually a super complex system of defenses designed to keep invaders out before they can even think about starting trouble. And here is the most obvious one, your skin. I mean, just look at those layers. It's your body's largest organ for a reason. This multi-layered shield is tough, it's waterproof, and most of the microbes that land on you, they never, ever get past this point. It's a simple, but an unbelievably effective mechanical barrier. Okay, but what about the stuff we breathe in? Well, our internal passages have some seriously clever traps. This one is my favorite. It's called the mucociliary escalator. You've got the sticky mucus that traps particles, and then these tiny little hairs, the cilia, are constantly beating upwards. It's like a conveyor belt, just moving all that junk up and out of your lungs. Beyond the physical walls, we have a whole chemical arsenal. Your stomach acid, for example, is basically a death pit for most microbes. You've got lysozyme in your tears and saliva that literally rips bacterial cell walls apart. Even your own sweat makes your skin acidic and inhospitable. It's a truly hostile landscape for any would-be invader. But, sometimes the walls get breached, a cut, an infection, an invader slips through. And that's when the fortress doesn't just defend, it sounds the alarm. And it does that with a flood of powerful chemical signals. These primary messengers are called cytokines. And if the immune system is an army, then cytokines are its radio communications. They tell cells where to go, what to do, and when to fight. They even come in different flavors, like chemokines, which create a chemical trail for cells to follow, or interleukins that let all the different immune cells talk to each other. Now, one of the most powerful alarm systems we have is called the complement system. I want you to imagine a whole series of tripwires laid out. Once the first of these 30-plus proteins gets tripped, it sets off a massive chain reaction, a cascade that just amplifies the danger signal like crazy throughout the entire body. So, what does this cascade actually do? Well, it has three main jobs. First, it recruits, acting like a chemical flare to draw more immune cells to the scene of the crime. Second, it can directly attack, punching holes in the cell membranes of microbes and killing them on the spot. And third, and this is super important, it opsonizes the invaders. And this slide shows you exactly what that opsonization looks like. It's basically tagging the enemy for destruction. You can see how these complement proteins just coat the invader, making it sticky and way easier for immune cells to grab onto and, well, eat. It's literally like painting a giant target on the bad guys. Okay, so the alarm has been sounded, the targets are marked, now it's time to send in the troops. So let's meet the soldiers of the innate immune system, the white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, that are always on patrol. And where do all these different soldiers come from? It's pretty amazing, actually. This family tree shows that every single one of them, every type of leukocyte in your body's army, comes from just one source, these hematopoietic stem cells that live in your bone marrow. The main frontline troops are the engulfers, called phagocytes. You can think of neutrophils as the rapid response team. They're constantly circulating in your blood, ready to rush to a problem at a moment's notice. Macrophages and dendritic cells, on the other hand, are more like the sentinels, the guards stationed in your tissues, just waiting to eat any intruders they find. And this is how they do it, the art of cell eating, or phagocytosis. First, they surround the invader and pull it inside, into this sealed-off bubble. Then they merge that bubble with a lysosome, which is just a packet of digestive enzymes and nasty chemicals like reactive oxygen species. It is a brutal but incredibly effective way to neutralize a threat. But not all threats are invaders that you can just eat. Sometimes our own cells go rogue. They get infected with a virus or they become cancerous. And that's where the natural killer cells come in. These are these special forces. Their job is to patrol and inspect our own cells for signs of trouble, and if they find any, they eliminate them before they can spread. They do it with precision by triggering a process called apoptosis, which is basically programmed cell death. All right, we've met the soldiers, we've seen how the alarm systems work. Now let's zoom in on the battlefield itself, because when all these pieces come together in a big, coordinated counterattack, we experience it as inflammation. And you definitely know these signs, that redness, warmth, pain, and swelling you get around a cut or a splinter. Those aren't just random side effects. They are the direct results of your immune response hard at work. The increased blood flow bringing soldiers and supplies, that causes the redness and warmth. Leaky blood vessels cause swelling and pain. It's the physical evidence of a battle being fought. What's absolutely incredible is how these soldiers get from the highway of the bloodstream to the actual battlefield in your tissues. It's a three-step journey. First is margination. They move to the edge of the blood vessel. Then extravasation, where they stick to the vessel wall. And finally, the most amazing part, diapedesis, where they literally squeeze themselves through tiny gaps in that wall to get to the fight. And this diagram just captures that whole process perfectly. You can actually see the neutrophils making that incredible journey, leaving the blood capillary and moving toward the bacteria that got past the skin barrier. This is the counterattack, live in action. But what happens when the fight just drags on and on? If the invaders can't be cleared, the body has to resort to a kind of siege tactic. It forms something called a granuloma, which is basically building a wall of immune cells around the threat to contain it. And while this is protective, this state of chronic inflammation can actually cause permanent damage to your own tissues. So the innate army is fast, it's brutal, and it's nonspecific. It's an absolutely incredible first line of defense, but it treats every enemy the same way. So what happens when it runs up against a pathogen that's too smart or too strong to be beaten by brute force? Well, for that, the body has to call in the specialists, an entirely different branch of the military, with memory, precision weapons, and a plan. We call it the adaptive immune system.